Is
How's it
there
going, boys?
any background noise at my end?
Is there any background noise at my end? Might be my
There
fan.
is
I
a
can
lot
switch
in
it
my
off.
end. That's just me crying, coping.
Yeah, because he's already live. Okay, get started, Chris. Let's kick this off with an Indian fan sandwich in between two Australian fans.
Yeah, one for each of the finals that they choked in the last year.
I won't be that unfair on Australia. Australia were the better team. So, and thankfully, India, the only team that can choke better than India, are facing India in the T20 World Cup final.
Yeah, I saw that. You have the generational chokers versus chokers of the decade in a chokers derby.
Yeah.
So while Chris joins, I think welcome everyone to this edition of the T20 World Cup CU Weekly Special Chat. Chris, I think you have titled it "Generational Chokers versus Gen Z Chokers." Uh, I think the only rebuttal I'm not expecting to get is Australia were really jokers in the entire pack. They uh, they really messed it up against Afghanistan. I think I will request this group, which is Archit and Chris, if you could give me just 2 to 5 minutes during the entire episode just to rant about what went wrong for Australia, and the rest of the show.
You get
Yeah,
2 minutes. 5 minutes means you'd be exceeding the time Afghanistan spent on the pitch in the next game after knocking us out. So that's one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. All yours. The floor is yours, and we can get started with the discussion. Big finals.
Yeah, honestly, I don't want to talk about Australia or how we messed it up despite the stream being an Aussie majority. That's unfair to Archit and the work that the Indian team has put in for the finals. um, how is the Josh, Archit? That's where I want to begin. How are you feeling? Like third time in the last 12 months? You
Feeling,
okay?
trying to feel zen, trying to not be too attached to the result. But honestly, I said this before the 2023 50-over World Cup final. I said this before GABA. I think this team has been excellent. And I am, maybe this is cope, but I am of the opinion that you don't have to win ICC tournaments to be the best team in the world. India has consistently shown with their record and with their performance in this tournament that they are, if not the best, on the top two teams in the world in T20 cricket, and similarly they've shown that in ODI cricket and Test cricket as well. Of course, it's nice to have those ICC trophies, as you Australian fans know, but to merely judge a team basis that, I think it's a bit unfair. So
Yeah.
yeah, I want India to win, but even if India doesn't, I think we'll have a new winner in World Cup cricket, which is great for cricket, and it was long time coming.
The irony is, regardless of what happens today, one of them is going to remain jokers. Doesn't matter. The game is, dramatic. It doesn't matter if it's one-sided. One team is never gonna, set the tag for the next decade or so.
Let me know when you're done with the choker narrative.
Hey, it's
But
No, I think
coming back,
I totally agree with Archit Bantofu. What you mentioned about trophies not being an indicator of the team success in general. Although we might taunt each other as fans, and we might have those trophy banters, but I also strongly believe that India enters every tournament as strong favorites, and second is actually a distant second. It's always a second place between, let's say, Australia, England, or New Zealand, which used to be always a fan favorite in terms of ICC tournaments. But then in the last few ICC tournaments, even a couple of them at least, New Zealand is slowly losing their mojo in terms of performing in the key matches, right? So. But India is definitely a standout team as compared to the others. They're overwhelming favorites. They were overwhelming favorites in 2023 in the ODI World Cup. They are overwhelming for favorites, despite the criticism regarding certain selection calls at the top in terms of batting order or people, who are on the bench. I'm not going to take names right now because names will
I will take names.
invariably come in. So, Archit, I will leave the criticism of Virat Kohli and Shivam Dubey. Anyway, we'll all jump in and talk about whether he needs to really play. But just dropping a thought for the rest of the discussion, I personally believe that India will actually have an unchanged team starting 11 for tonight's game. The day game today in the in the West Indies. So I feel that they will go unchanged because they have been winning. There's no reason to change it. It's like sorry for the Australian reference, but Australia had this a couple of players like George Bailey and others in the Test team when they were whitewashing England in the Ashes during the Mitchell Johnson Ashes. They were they played all 5 tests with an unchanged team. So regardless of whether someone was performing or not, I think there's no reason to really upset the apple cart here. Yes, Dubey is not performing. Jadeja is probably not up to his previous standards, the benchmark that he set for himself. So I think that's my take. What do you guys feel?
Yeah, I
I
think before I jump onto the team for this game, I want to highlight a couple of positives from the Indian team. Of course, Bumrah, you don't have to highlight. Bumrah is a banker. It's like the team is chasing the score in 18 overs because Bumrah's 4 overs will not count. Like the runs that they take in those 4 overs will not be more than say 10, 12, max
Yeah.
20. His economy rate has been insane. That is expected. But let's come to Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma has proved that he's one of the best batters in the world on uneven bounce pitches. He's done so in so many matches, including tests in Ahmedabad and various parts of India against England, even Australia. And he's used the same skill on this pitch, of course, with a bit of luck, which he deserves. But he's been fantastic, and he's the big boys come to the party in the big games against Australia and England, and yeah, it's beautiful to see. It's his last T20I innings today for the good, and hopefully makes it count. And I think second, I want to talk about Akshar Patel. So a couple of days back, Kriska and I had a discussion on Twitter where Jared Kimmer actually asked who's the best all format all rounder, and it was the instinct was to say Jadeja, maybe Ben Stokes, because Ben Stokes has retired from T20I cricket. I don't know if he'll come back, but I thought it's Akshar Patel. And Kriska probably probably at the first thought Kriska didn't agree with me, but probably he does now. Akshar might not be the best all-rounder in one particular format, but overall his test record is excellent. In T20I cricket, I think he's way ahead of Jadeja right now, and he's proven that in this World Cup. I said this before the World Cup as well, that Jadeja is India's third best all-rounder uh, after Hardik and Akshar, and both of those Gujaratis have proved me right. And if you see Aksar's record with the bat, he's been striking at around 140 over the last couple of years. Jadeja's been striking at 126. Akshar has been striking at 140, and he's been taking wickets. And he took some insane wickets. He's obviously got Johnny Bairstow, who's his bunny, uh, and yeah, I think that was the most satisfying wicket.
Absolutely. I mean, what a way to prove me wrong, right? I don't think it even took that long. I went back 20 minutes later after he took that blinder of a catch, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to forget that game
I think that catch changed the overall tournament, not just the match. I feel that Australia were actually getting away. They were I mean, that actually shocked. It was like the turning point. I know that there were a lot of big wickets which fell after that regularly, which Australia lost, but that catch changed everything.
Yeah, that was the Travis head. Yeah, getting Rohit Sharma out moment of this World Cup, and we saw how that worked out for Australia in the previous World Cup. So absolutely, India deserved to be here, and this is also the first instance where two teams have reached the finals unbeaten in T20, and this is the first time it's happening in any format since 2013 Champions Trophy. That of course India and Dhoni won, which also incidentally is India's last win.
And
Who
and
deserved that?
South Africa didn't even lose to rain this time around, so they are
Yeah,
actually unbeaten.
yeah, that's
Yep.
true. What about South Africa? So the way these two teams have reached the finals couldn't be any more contrasting. India, they have steamrolled opposition the same way they did in the 50-over World Cup to reach the finals. And on the other, maybe except for the Pakistan game, which was nerves, the New York setup, and everything. Except for them, for that one game, everything else has been a cakewalk for India. On the other hand, South Africa have barely hung by a thread. Every game they were supposed to get knocked out, and by now they usually are. So I don't know how to make of that. So there is this resilience, and they have adapted to the conditions. They just don't want to give up. Every time you think they are done, they seem to rise up like phoenix. I don't know which one of these moods is ultimately going to win
Yeah,
today.
I don't want to really jump the gun here on picking a favorite in the final, but it would end finally. It will boil down to who is more hungry, right? We know that both teams are actually pretty good. We know that India has been more dominant than South Africa. I mean, South Africa has been probably just having nail biters against even Nepal and others. So it's going to be a really tricky one. And few players in both teams are actually looking for making a mark, like Reza Hendricks for South Africa. He's trying his luck. Heinrich Klaassen hasn't come good as expected from his IPL, fireworks. And from on the Indian side, you have someone as hungry as Kohli. Archit, do you want to take a couple of minutes for Kohli on that? Is he
Yeah,
hungry? Is he hungry for runs? Is he hungry for eating up balls? Or how hungry? What sort of hungry?
I mean, if I don't know if any of you are vegan, but if I was vegan, I'd be hungry a lot. So I'm sure Virat is hungry. Uh, on Virat, I think we need to separate the how we're judging Virat and Dubey's performance on this World Cup. So both have not been exceptional, to say the least. But but you need to judge decisions basis the data you had before the tournament. Before the tournament, you knew Dubey was performing well against spinners. It was the right call to pick him, to bet on him. The bet did not come off, but you could explain the bet. With Kohli, I don't think it was a good bet. And I've said this again and again that Rinku should have been in the squad instead of Kohli. And unfortunately for India, Kohli's proved me right. I think Kohli should have been the official brand ambassador of this tournament. He should have come, danced, done some commentary, indulged in some bakchodi with the players on the field, and just sold the tournament better than he is selling it right now with the bat, and sold the game of cricket in the US. His
He's
record has been
actually doing all of that right now, but eating up a place in the team.
exactly. So his record has been abysmal. He's probably the worst. He has the worst average of any opener in a T20 World Cup ever. And some might say, that he deserves to be carried in his last tournament, like Sachin was carried in 2011, and India won the World Cup for him.
I said
But let
that.
me remind folks that Sachin was India's best batsman in that World Cup. He was one of the highest. He was a joint highest run scorer in the 2011 50-over World Cup, and he did not, owe it to anyone, or nobody owed it to him. He actually got the World Cup for India. So that narrative is again, I think, bonkers. But I think Khandalf is right. Judging by Rohit's post-match press conference, India will not make any changes to the team. Virat Kohli definitely is not going away. Uh, I would still risk Samson coming in. I don't think it's a problem that he hasn't played in the entire tournament. These are professionals. They hit like hundreds of balls every day. They can come in and perform on a given day. So,
In place of
I mean, I wish you were Rinku. I wish Dubey. I wish you well, Dubey, and I like you as a person. From whatever I know of you, but I wish you get a tiny niggle, maybe just like something in the knee that gets fixed in 28
Is
hours or
it?
30 hours.
I hope it is not as bad as Gulbuddin Naib's cramps. Or
Uh, it could be as bad, but he should be
exactly
okay in
as bad.
28 hours, just enough for Rinku to come in into the 11 and for him to party with Rinku in Barbados on Sunday with the trophy. And while Rinku screams,
Or run into the
Scotland,
gym.
baby! Sorry?
are you guys aware of the pitch? I mean, frankly, I haven't read much about how it's going to
No,
behave.
before we get into the pitch, I wanted to address something that Archit said. I understand the sentiment of wanting one of Samson or Rinko to come in, but I feel India have taken. I know Gandalf quoted an Australia example from decades ago with Mitchell Johnson and whatnot, but a more relevant example is how CSK uh, gets to IPL trophies. It's a very good blend of youth and experience. India have continued to back players who have underperformed. So I absolutely don't think there will be a change in the 11,
Yeah, yeah.
bar any injury. And I think it's okay. Like you just need to come good once. If and there is no better big game player in cricket, probably bar Ben Stokes, than Virat Kohli. How many times has he come good? He just needs to do it one more time. Do you disagree with that?
I, I do, but if I get into that, then like we'll have to spend half an hour more on this topic, which I don't want to, because I think if we briefly talk about South Africa, uh, you guys were absolutely right. I think South Africa has a lot of players who are generational talents. Klaassen, who hasn't come good in this tournament, he's been excellent over the last 2 3 years. One of the best white ball hitters. He was great in the one day World Cup. He was great in the series before that against Australia. Uh, he's excellent, and you have Quinton de Kock, who's coming to probably the latter quarter of his career. He's been one of the best keepers that they've had. Then you have Rabada and Nokia. Rabada is obviously again one of their best since Stain. Maharaj and Shamsi have been pretty good. Uh, so I think they finally are coming good, and they finally are showing their potential in an ICC tournament, and that's great to see. Also, I like the fact that they did not take Temba Bavuma, uh, who, I mean, he was one of their senior players earlier, but he would have been a passenger in this team, and they chose to go with a certain philosophy of keeping hitters. And I'm glad they did, and they are getting the benefits of that strategy.
I think it's in the end going to come down to who can play spin and the middle overs better, right? I mean, it might be a cliche to say, but from a bowling lineups point of view, they are almost like to like. They are really, staring each other straight into the eye. If you look at Marco Jansen versus Arshdeep Singh, um, I would rate Jansen a little higher because of the ability to get bounce on even those wickets. And sometimes, if he actually does the effort ball and the ball doesn't bounce, which could be the case in most cases, it could just go under the bat and hit the stump. So there's a high likelihood of that. And then you have someone like Bumrah. Of course, there is no comparison for Bumrah. Then they
Yeah,
have yeah, there is no comparison to Bumrah, but you have Nokia there who can bowl at pace, and Rabada is Rabada. So I mean, you got almost an equally balanced bowling lineup. I would say Shamsi versus Kuldeep. I'm not looking at stats at all here. If you look at stats, then probably Kuldeep will be a better bowler than Shamsi. But what I'm trying to say is the knack of picking wickets, the similarity in terms of the release, the action, the kind of credentials that they have off the paper. So I'm talking about those things. So you have a Shamsi for Kuldeep and similar kind of bowlers. I'm sure that Indians would play Shamsi better than South Africans would bat against Kuldeep, right? So I think that would Indian matter, but it remains very interesting how it would fare the middle order of South Africa against Indian spin, and if Akshar and Kuldeep come good, then it's going to be a repeat of what we saw against England. And a lot also depends on the opening partnership that South Africa will have. Otherwise, they're going to expose their hard hitting but brittle middle order to the Indian spinners. They're just throwing it to the dogs, right? So, yeah.
I think Kanpur ka Shane Warne will come good against uh, South Africa in the final. He's been excellent in all three formats over the last couple of years. Uh, he is bowling better than he has ever, and he just has that confidence. Which, uh, if you've heard leg spinners talk, they always talk about this, that they need this confidence, to flight the ball, to uh, take wicket taking deliveries, which might go for sixes, but they need that confidence in their abilities to take wickets, which Kuldeep has been doing really well. And I hope and predict that he's going to be the game changer in the final. And of course, you always have Bumrah. So it'll be hard for South Africa to go through those two. Others can have bad days. I think those two are bankable.
Who are we picking as MVPs?
For the
Who do you
tournament,
think is going to have a field day?
Kuldeep for me.
Okay.
I think Akshar for me. I would still think that someone who flights the ball more will be probably in the hitting zone for South Africa's big hitters. They're not going to really be clumsy like England. They're going to be slightly better, but with Akshar, he can really target the stumps and be the game changer for India.
And what is the preference? Do you think if India wins the toss, they'd like to bat first, considering that worked really well for them in the last two games?
Bat first for me,
Definitely
especially
bat first. Yeah.
sorry, go on, Kanda.
Yeah, no, I'm also just adding on, just saying that definitely bat first, and also if the only exception could be where if Virat Kohli is consulted by Rohit Sharma or anyone else, then they might change their mind because there will be people who may be influencing the decision, saying that we could chase any target because we got the chase master on our side. But if Kohli by mistake chokes if India chases, then I think that's the end of Rohit Virat partnership as we know it.
I think Kohli, to be fair to him, it has not been detrimental to India's batting this tournament because he's gotten out in the first, say, 6, 7 balls. If he would have played for 40 balls, he probably would have been harmful. So he's been useless, but not harmful.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think India should bat first. If it were Australia, I would probably have a different answer. But against chokers of the millennium, they should put the pressure on them while they chase, and they will be under pressure. They'll be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, even if India just scamper to get to 120 or so, I think South Africa will still be under a lot of pressure. I'm talking about the worst case batting performance of India. But they will get to 120 or 125, and they will still make it because South Africa will be under pressure performing against spin.
Yeah. I think India's bowling unit is a lot more potent and consistent than batting. Batting is a little reliant on Rohit Sharma, and if he ends up misfiring like the 50 over World Cup Finals, then you'd be exposing the likes of Shivam Dubey or Hardik Pandya coming in too early. None of that is a good situation for India as well. So I'll also have Rohit Sharma as my MVP.
I think Kohli's role in this match should be of chief sledger. He should really come to the party and just have a lot of chats with the South African batters. I
Get
can
it.
help him out. Sangakkara can help him out probably. Sangakkara's famous sledge against Pollock, where he said the weight of all these expectations, fellas, the weight of the country chaps. He sledged Sound Pollock during the 2003 World Cup
Wow.
match. It's there on YouTube. So I think Kohli should really get behind our players. He should, be the cheerleader in chief on ground and just up the vibes. Because as we saw in the 2023 World Cup final, India's energies were down when Travis had started hitting India. So India really needs someone to uh, up the moods on the field when the chips are down. And I think Kohli should really do that.
That's something that I wanted to bring up earlier as well. So body language, when you were talking about spin and middle overs, I feel the body language is also going to be a very important factor because, like Kandal pointed out, the margins are very thin. It's almost an even matchup, bar Bumrah, I would say, and it is going to be a game that will be one on nerves, given the history these two teams have had in the last decade. So let's wrap it up with this. Who we backing to set the tag and go on to?
See, I would still think that I just want to end with our own predictions. I would still think India are strong favorites to win this. Finally, put an end to the streak. But I somewhere down the deep down, I believe that South Africa might spring a surprise. So you never know. Yeah.
I'm going
I'd
with
say
India.
60-40, 60-40 India.
Oh wow! I can't believe I'm the one backing India the most in the game. One-sided game.
No.
I don't think so. It'll be it may be a low-scoring thriller for all we know, but it may not be one-sided for sure. South Africa have a lot to play for. They have a lot to prove for, and
Yes.
India, of course, are looking at the trophy. They have nothing to prove for in terms of who the best team on the planet is right now in the last few years. That they are, but it's more about trophy hunting. Trophy hunting, if that's a term we can use in this context. But I think South Africa have a lot more than that to prove for. I think it's a country which is probably looking for something in cricket for a long time.
And I want to go on record and say I'll be the happiest person in the world if Virat Kohli performs. I think in a test match, in a test match against South Africa recently, he told Nandre Berger that "Sale tirko main 30 run malunga, dash dash." So I hope he makes those 30 runs, even if it's in 2 overs. It's fine.
Yeah, no, thank you, Archit, for saying that because that also spares you from the abusive comments that you or anyone else might
That
be
was
getting.
just with insulating himself after
Yeah,
episodes. Yes,
thanks for that protective shield that you had towards the end. Yeah, but thanks, Viska, thanks, Archit. Only time will tell. We'll once again connect after the fireworks end.
bye bye.
All
Good
right.
luck. Ansh.
Yes. Bye bye.
I don't care which
Bye
team
bye.
wins. I'm here for entertainment.
Yep. Here for entertainment. We are in the entertainment business. That's what David Warner said.